Now I'm going to talk about Marie Curie. I'm going to start with her life. Her real name was Marie Sklodowska-Curie, and she was born the 7th of November 1867 in Warsaw, where she lived until she was about 24. She followed her older sister Bronislawa to study in Paris, where she obtained her higher degrees, and she started with her scientific work and career, with an investigation of the magnetic properties of various steels. She also founded two Curie institutes. The first one in Paris, which nowadays is one of the leading medical, biological, and biophysical research centers in the world, operating a research center on biophysics, cell biology, and oncology, and it's a hospital specialized in treatment of cancer. And the second one in Warsaw, which today is a specialized health institute of the Polish Ministry of Health, and the most specialized cancer research and treatment center in Poland. She lived a very big part of her life in France, but she never lost her Polish identity, and when she discovered a new chemical element, she called it polonium for her native country. After that, in 1932, she founded a radium institute, which now is called Maria Sklodowska-Curie Institute of Oncology, in her hometown, Warsaw, which was headed by her physician sister Bronislawa. Now I'm going to talk about her investigations, and I'm going to start with Marie's most important piece of work. I'm going to introduce this by saying that Henry Becquerel discovered that uranium salts emitted rays, and demonstrated that this radiation did not depend on an external source of energy. So he discovered radioactivity. Marie Curie decided to look into uranium rays as a possible field of research for a thesis, and she used the electrometer, a sensitive device for measuring electrical charge, designed by her husband and his brother, as you can see in the picture. She discovered that uranium rays caused the air around a sample to conduct electricity, which depended only on the quantity of uranium. So she showed that the radiation was not an outcome of an interaction of molecules, and it must come from the atom. In scientific terms, this was the most important single piece of work that she conducted. Now I'm going to talk about new elements. Marie and her husband discovered two elements. The first one, the polonium. In July 1898, Marie Curie and her husband published a paper together announcing the existence of an element which they named polonium, in honor of her native Poland. This element was very related with barium and bismuth. And the second one, the radium. In the same year, they announced the existence of a second element called radium for its intense radioactivity. Now I'm going to talk about Nobel Prizes. In 1903, the Royal Swedish Academy of Science awarded Pierre Curie, Marie Curie, and Henry Becquerel the Nobel Prize in Physics in recognition of her researches on the radiation phenomena discovered by Professor Henry Becquerel, as I said before. After receiving the Nobel Prize, Marie and Pierre suddenly became very famous, and the Sorbonne gave Pierre a professorship and permitted him to establish his own laboratory, in which Marie Curie became the director of research. 8 years later, in 1911, she received the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, in recognition of her services to advancement of chemistry by the discovery of the elements radium and polonium. This was her diploma. With these discoveries, Marie Curie was the first person to win 2 Nobel Prizes and the first woman to win a Nobel Prize as well. On July 4th, 1934, Marie Curie died in Passy, eastern France, from aplastic anemia, contracted from exposure to radiation. The damaging effects of ionizing radiation were not known, and much of her work had been carried out without proper safety measures. She had carried test tubes containing radioactive isotopes in her pocket and stored them in her desk drawer. To finish, I'm going to show you a little video about Marie Curie.
This picture was taken 2 years ago by a German scientist. He did it by using invisible light rays coming from this uranium. You can't see the rays, but they're strong enough to go through metal. They're called X-rays because no one knows what they really are or where they come from. I want to find out what the X means.
Well, it's certainly worthy research for a doctorate, but,
Marie, no woman has ever received a doctorate degree.
I don't mind being the first.
Within just a few weeks, her experiments led her to her now famous theory. Only future generations will understand its importance.
The atom, the tiniest, most basic building block in the universe. For years, we have believed it to be constant, stable, and unbreakable. I'm not so sure. I believe X-rays come from the uranium atom, which is constantly disintegrating.
The Academy of Science is no place for wild and careless theories.
She's trying to change the understanding of matter itself.
The theory of radioactivity. It was a leap of genius. Men have been made professors for much less, and still we haven't come to her most famous achievement. She discovered a new element.